Looking at the Markets with David Modell. Welcome to Looking at the Markets with David Modell. Today I have a very special guest. He is a legend in the industry. He is Mr. Lewis J. Borsellino, a highly regarded and well-known independent trader and author. He has traded the S&P futures and the Eurodollar futures and other contracts as a member of the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, starting back in 1982. He is also an author of The Day Trader, From the Pit to the PC, as well as The Day Trader's Course, Low Risk, High Profit Strategies for Trading Stocks and Futures, both available on Amazon, so check those out. He is also featured very prominently in a well-known documentary. You might have seen it. It's called Sold, the Lewis Borsellino story. Go ahead and type that into YouTube and it should come up and you'll certainly enjoy that. He's also been featured on Tasty Trade. He's been on television. He's all over the place, and now he's on, fortunately for me and for you, Looking at the Markets with David Modell. Thank you, Mr. Borsellino, for joining me today.
Good morning, David. How are you?
Very good, sir. It's a very good morning, and I'm glad to be with you. All right, so I wanted to start at the beginning because your story is so fascinating to me. What is your background in finance and investing, and what are you up to today?
So actually, my finance background was I went to DePaul University in Greencastle, Indiana, DEPAUW. Graduated with a liberal arts degree and majored in economics and political science. Came out of college and I decided I was gonna be a lawyer, and I was actually wanted to be a lawyer. And then from that point, my father passed away 2 days after I graduated college. I ended up driving a truck for a year, and then got introduced to not S&P futures, but gold futures. It's gold at the time was trading around $800, $700 to $800 an ounce. And I was playing handball, back when handball was a sport, and
Sure.
People mostly played racquetball. I was playing handball. And just talking to a guy who was a broker, he said, why don't you come down and try, being a runner. And the day I walked on the floor of the exchange in 1981, it was the end of it. I just said, the excitement, the enthusiasm, the energy.
Sure.
I just was like, that was it. I thought, you could do this and you can make money. Let me give it a shot.
Wow, that's a great start. And what are you up to now?
Well, David, a couple things have happened, right? Since I retired in 2003, started a healthcare company. And was actually building senior retirement housing, what they call CCRCs, which are nursing homes, assisted living, and memory care.
Sure.
And then here in the state of Illinois, I got kind of caught in the budget problems with the state of Illinois. Everybody well known problems, and exited the industry, and then got involved in big data analytics and saw a use case for big data analytics with cybersecurity. So we're actually using the big data analytics to provide predictive modeling for cyber attacks. Not only the predictive modeling on the what we call the SIM logs that are produced by applications and appliances, but also by monitoring the cryptocurrencies, which everybody is jumping up now. I just, I've been involved in Bitcoin, monitoring, watching this Ethereum and all the different currencies that are coming out. And and one of the things that I tell our clients is that if you look at Bitcoin on first week of April was around $1,200 a coin. And then from there on May 4th, it spiked up to 2,000. And then on May 14th, they announced the worldwide cyber attacks. So, that's where I'm at now. I'm in the cybersecurity field, looking at different startup companies and providing cybersecurity.
And that's a great industry to be in. It's so coincidental that you mentioned Bitcoin. I just put out a video with my impressions and opinions on Bitcoin. The run up, as you know, obviously has been massive. I don't know. Do you think it's too late to get in now?
You know, this story is growing because my young son, who just graduated college, put $2,000 into Ethereum at $7, and he made 70 grand on it. And he keeps looking at me saying, it's going to 200. And I keep telling him, take your profits and get out. So look, we know there's going to be a bubble. Someone's going to be a winner. The way I think of cryptocurrencies are no different than airline miles. They're a form of currencies, right?
Right.
And when you take a look at what we have, that what backs our fiat currency, I mean, really nothing. I mean, what backs the U.S. currency and the ability to print all that money is all our assets of the United States citizens, right? And
Right.
our good faith to be able to pay it back.
Sure.
So there's going to be a bubble somewhere. It makes sense if you go to a cryptocurrency because then you don't have to print all that money, right? You can get rid of the treasury.
Right.
So, look, it's going to be a game. It's as long as I've been around trading since 1981. There's always a bubble and there's always a scam, right? So those things have never changed. There's, when I look back in '81, I started trading. S&Ps were at like 950. I was writing 650 on my card. I remember when the Dow went through 1,000, and I also remember in 1987 when the Dow went from 3,500 to 1,500 in 2 days, in one day. So I've seen the currency crises, the devaluations. I've seen every crisis you can imagine. The .com. It just it is what it is, and you just got to be flexible and be ahead of the curve.
Since you've seen so much over the years, what are the telltale signs of a market top that perhaps we should be looking at right now?
When I talk about, it's hard to pick market tops, and I don't really think that that's the issue right now. I don't think you're going to see a market top. I think that if President Trump is successful in loosening up regulation, right? Let me just back up a little bit. When I exited in 2003, I did it right after the .com era, right?
Right.
And I saw that the market was destroyed. I remember in '87, I think in 1987, I was written up in U.S. Today. I made $4 million. And in 1988, I made $90,000. And because the market got destroyed by greed, got destroyed by, what back then it was all about portfolio insurance and what do we call it? Where you can just push a button and liquidate your positions, right? And there were no market circuit breakers in place and so on.
Right.
So people were able to exit their strategy. So we had the crash of '87. The market then rebounded. Then what really fueled the '90s was the fall of communism. So the fall of communism kind of opened up the world of capitalism. And then we had the .com era bubble, and then then we had the real estate bubble. So I mean, so when I exited in '03, I think the S&P had reached a high of about 15,000, and then it retreated back to around 9,500, and then stayed in a range. And that's why I seriously exited in '03. Was the first year I never made any money trading. I was just spinning wheels, right?
Yeah.
So I knew the volatility had shrunk, and also we were going through that metamorphosis of half of the volume being inside the E-minis and half of the volume being in the pit. So that, we used to risk $1 to make 10, and as soon as I had to risk 10 to make $1, it was time to go. So as far as the market top as I'm concerned, I actually think you're going to see a doubling of the all-time high. So, I think you could see this market go up to, 2,800, something like that. We're at 2,200 now. I think there's going to be some sectors that are really going to fuel that, like anything else. But the sectors that I would be looking at are going to be basically technology that has to do with the internet and data storage. So when I look at Amazon, Amazon's a company that right now, when you look at what they're investing in, and the technologies that support Amazon and any web-based, so Amazon, Azure, Oracle's cloud, any of these cloud services, Amazon, I think, is targeting to have $200 billion worth of data centers up in in the next 10 years, and they believe they'll be 20% of the market. So you're thinking of you're going to look at about $1 trillion market cap on just data centers. So that's where my focus would be if I was investing.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've interviewed so many high-profile people in the finance industry. You and one other person have expressed a possible doubling. Kenny Glick from HitTheBid.com was the only person I've spoken to who didn't predict or at least express concern about toppy or frothy valuations right now. He said, you know what, I think the Dow is going to go to 40,000 before any sort of crash happens. Do you think that's realistic?
Where's the Dow at right now? 20? I'm not even sure anymore. I haven't traded in about 2 years, but but I looked at that, and then I looked at I believe that the market's it's going in you got to understand something. We're in a 100-year bull market, right? Maybe a 120-year bull market.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I think that the S&P could double from the all-time highs, which was like 15,000. I think we could get to 28 to 30,000. That's what I think in the S&P. So the Dow to me has always been, it's 30 stocks. Okay.
Right.
So at the end of the day, the weighting of the Dow doesn't really mean much to me.
Right. Interesting. What about precious metals, gold, silver? First of all, personal question, if I may. Are you a stacker of gold, silver, all that good stuff? And do you think it's a good investment right now?
I'm going to tell you a little story, David, and then you can decide whether you want gold or not. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
So you got to remember that I got started as Maury Kravitz's clerk, who was at one time had every single contract traded on the CME for gold contracts. And when gold started being traded again, it actually started at the here in Chicago, and then it evolved over to the COMEX in New York. But, I have gold is the only commodity in the world that's a demand product. So when you take a look at, I think they make, I think they produce about 5 million ounces of gold a year. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
It has nothing to do with consumption. It just has to do with demand, right? And so when you take a look at what's going on with gold right now, I mean, you got Russian jets, you've got, you got North Korea, you got the wacko in North Korea, you got ISIS, you got all these things going on, and gold is sticking about, around 100. Around 1,000. Okay.
Right.
1,000, 1,200, okay? And that's because I think the real function that's going on now is interest rates, right? I mean, interest rates have been at zero for 12 years, and all of a sudden you got the Fed raising rates. So there's where the rubbers meet the road when it comes to gold, right?
Right.
I think people are taking the money out of gold and said, look, I don't want to be in the precious metal right now. We don't care how unstable the world is right now, because it's just been a fact that we've been unstable for the last 10 years anyway. And they're actually able to get some return on their cash, so they're out of gold. That's the way I look at gold.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. A couple more, if I may. Because you've had such fascinating and extensive experience in the trading pit, are there any lessons you learned from there that retail traders such as myself and most of my audience can learn from?
Well, it's just the old adage, bulls make money, bears make money, hogs go to slaughter, right?
Yes.
You know what? I'll tell you what, it's not an easy road to hold, to go with for being a retail trader. I mean, the first thing you have to overcome are commissions, right?
Yep.
And then the second thing is that you're not in the know, all right? At the end of the day, you're not in the know, and trying to get ahead of the programs and algorithms that are produced for high frequency traders. Stocks, forget about it. At the end of the day, you're never going to beat them. You're just going to be, you're better off being a buy and hold. I don't know. Most of your following trading futures?
Mostly stocks and options, but I've had some futures. I've had Anka Metcalf and some other Mike Siri and some other futures experts come in and speak to my audience, and they really appreciated that. So they're into futures as well, commodities, things like that. It's a pretty big mix. Lately, I've been getting a lot of questions about Bitcoin, marijuana stocks. I get anything and everything, which is cool. I love it. But so are you telling me that retail traders just can't, just by the nature of it, can't get ahead, can't get an edge?
It's kind of hard to be a day trader. I think you can be a well-informed retail trader that's making good decisions on your portfolio. Okay.
Right.
It's hard if you think you're going to take advantage of market swings. First of all, you need a lot of capital, right? Especially if you're trading stocks,
sure.
Options, and here's where you really run into the problem. Are you really fully dedicated to being a trader? Are you doing this? This is what you're doing for your living, or are you just doing it part time? And hopefully that you're gonna, someday tell your boss, "See you later. I'm a great trader now."
Right.
It's really hard to try to do this part time, right? So, like I said, I think there's certain sectors of this market you can take advantage of. I think that these cryptocurrencies, the hard thing with the cryptocurrencies are that there's really no trading platform, so you're long only, right?
Right.
The other thing is I did get approached by guys that are trying to start a marijuana exchange, so a hemp exchange. I think that's a bunch of give people is be well informed, right?
Right.
My kids, my youngest now is 24, just got out of college, and 4 or 5 years ago, I was telling them I've got kids from 36 to 24. I'm going, "Hey, you guys know anything about this Bitcoin?" And they're looking at me like, "How do you know about Bitcoin, Dad?" So,
Right.
It was funny. I went to one of those Bitcoin conferences in LA, and actually in Las Vegas, and I walked in, and maybe at least 10 or 15 people came up to me and said, "Hey, aren't you the trader from the American?" So I'm like, look, and if you get into, sorry,
it's okay.
That's my watchdog.
There you go.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
Okay. No problem. Yeah, so I'm speaking today with Mr. Lewis Borsellino and his dog, perhaps. But I'm learning so much today. Just so in case people don't know about Mr. Borsellino, he authored The Day Trader: From the Pit to the PC. That is available on Amazon, and that's considered a classic text nowadays.
I got her to quiet down.
Oh, there you go. I was just telling people that you are the author of the now classic text, The Day Trader: From the Pit to the PC, as well as the Day Trader's Course, Low Risk, High Profit Strategies for Trading Stocks and Futures, both published by John Wiley and available. They're both available on Amazon, and people should check those out. What services are you offering now that you would like people to know about and check out?
I'm not in the trading arena. We are, we have a company called Defend Edge, which is a full service cybersecurity company where basically we have a holistic approach. A lot of, and this is one of the problems with cybersecurity, right? At this point, there's been $10 billion in the last, I'll say 5 years, over 800 companies that are startup cybersecurity, and most of them have to do with some sort of application software, latest and greatest technology. And one of the biggest issues that's why they can't get ahead of the cyber crime is that for every 3 cyber security positions opened right now, there's only one qualified expert. So what happens is network trained individuals are asked and put into the role of the cybersecurity analyst, or CISO, they call him, cybersecurity information officer, and he's behind the eight ball because now he's confronted with all these new solutions, and he's really not formally trained for this, right? So it's going to take a while for, and then on top of that, he's got every high pressured vendor out there selling them the latest and greatest, right?
Right.
And he's not even trained in that domain. And that's really, the key issue right now is that there's a shortage of experts in cybersecurity, and the fact that most people are still in and I'm not saying people, we have some major organizations that if it wasn't legislated, they would still not have moved on the idea that cybercrime is real, right? That, they think there's two kind of people in the world. There's the companies that have been hacked and the ones that don't know it yet, right?
Right.
And that mentality is not a good mentality to have. Everybody's got to move to a proactive.
From the CME floor to cybersecurity. Wow, what an amazing story you've had. I recommend people check out both of your books, again, available on Amazon, The Day Trader from the Pit to the PC, as well as The Day Trader's Course, Low Risk, High Profit Strategies for Trading Stocks and Futures. And I'm sorry, what was, tell everybody the name of the organization you're with right now, and I'll put a link in the description.
It's called defendedge.com.
Defendedge.com.
Right, one word.
Yep,
one word.
Got it.
And then the other. Mm-hmm. So I just back up on the books.
Sure.
So the first book, The Day Trader from the Pit to the PC, is more of a sort of a, like at the time when they asked me to write the book, like in the late '90s, it was more of an autobiography, sort of, how I got started and in my career. I was kind of known for being very aggressive.
Mm-hmm, sure. Right.
And so I had gotten a reputation, and then and I talked about my family and my background and so on. And then the other book was more about technical analysis and so on. I don't know, everybody doesn't know this, but I was one of the purchasers. My partners and I bought the original rights to WD GAN. So we had the GAN angles and so on. So I started doing technical analysis in the early 80s. I think that, that all becomes part if you're going to be a good retailer trader or any trader. You got to be prepared. You got to seize opportunity. You got to be able to enter a trade, and you got to be able to put a stop loss in.
Yeah.
And then those are the. I mean, everybody tells you the same things. I think I wrote in 1998. I called it the 10 Commandments of Trading, and they haven't changed.
Yeah.
It's 2017, and they haven't changed. So
the basic principles stay the same. It's really true, and I've been able to tap into your wisdom today, and I'm so grateful for that. Mr. Lewis J. Borsellino, thank you so much for joining me today on Looking at the Markets. You're welcome back anytime, sir.
All right. Thanks, David.
It's different now.